thank you first of all for joining us here on this conversation. We're going to discuss the main topic we want to talk about is data, how integrators are using data installation along with their regular projects. The whole convergence, the digital convergence, is all coming online, and we're seeing so much disruption, right, in the integrators world. So my background, I'm more on the operational side of things.
Okay.
We can go all the way back. I got into security after I joined the Marines after high school. So I've been in this world for a while. So I'm as far as content education awareness, I'm coming at it from an operational standpoint. But I'm so grateful that you're taking the time out of your day to get us insights about the integrators world. And so so I'm just going to hand the floor to you, and if you just give us a little bit about your background and kind of the top challenges facing the integrators today.
Sure, I can absolutely do that. So, RFI is an integrator. We just celebrated our 43rd year in business, and so we're well established. We've been around for a long time, and we're in California, we're in Washington, and we're in Nevada. We work in mostly the small to medium-sized business commercial space, right? We also are an alarm company, so we manage alarm and intrusion panels, fire systems. We have a fire division. And my job, so I just celebrated my 25th year in my career, and it looks a little bit like this. So the first 14 years of my career were basically, I think my math is a little off, sorry. It's the COVID fog after everything.
Right. Yeah, we lost sense of time, right?
Right. Totally lost sense of time. So I started the first part of my career. So from basically 1997 until 2012, that part of my career was working in information technology. And so I held various different roles in that. I was database administrator, network administrator, IT consultant, IT manager, security consultant, network engineer. I held lots of different roles with that. I also worked for managed services companies. So I helped IT companies provide platform as a service, software as a service, and even outsourced managed IT services to small to medium-sized businesses. And in 2012, I brought that to the integrator space. I was recruited by Aronson Security Group, which is a large global integrator, with also a regional presence in the Pacific Northwest, to be part of their applications engineering team. And applications engineers are basically their crucial role in the integrator space, because what we do, what applications engineers do, is guarantee that systems work the way they're supposed to, that we have good documentation on it, right, and that they understand how it works. We train the customer on how to use it. We train the technicians on how to use it, and we ourselves go to manufacturer training. And so the manufacturers like Linnell and Software House and Genetec and others like that, they train us how to do what we do. So my job as the training and development specialist for RFI is bringing that knowledge and that experience to helping improve customer service for our company, and people, processes, and procedures. Make sure that's all really well documented. The other part of my job is bringing in the next generation of security, industry, and life safety leaders. So I'm recruiting and I'm training new people that are coming into the workforce about how to do this, right? And then the last thing, the fourth thing, is working on things that make RFI uniquely RFI, services that, kind of vision cast and future cast that set us up for moving forward, and like, what does the next evolution of this look like?
Wow, that's a lot of things. That's pretty awesome. I was as you mentioned, sort of educating leaders. I was the security manager that was breaking my head trying to figure out Linnell. Because from integrators have so many tools to their disposal and resources. You got the manufacturers reaching out. You have a lot of resources, and on top of besides the fact that you usually have a good technical background, but on the operational side, you have security directors that are either coming from the physical world, right, physical security, or just have limited integration knowledge. So when you try to figure things out, like on systems like Linnell, you mentioned, it can be very challenging on the director side. And so that's one of the bridges we're trying to connect so that we're speaking the same language on both sides and making progress. But like I mentioned, regarding the data installation projects, what's your take on that as it pertains to integrators and providing that service?
So there's a couple of different parts to that. I mean, obviously, we depend on data connectivity for cloud-based services to operate, right? And so there's a couple different ways we go about doing that. So one of them is we, as the integrator ourselves, partner with an internet service provider, and we actually sell and install that service. Okay, so for lack of a better term, I hate to use the term because it's kind of old, but subcontract
Right.
with ISPs, people like Comcast, people like Bell, people like what's that one in California, Sunset, I think it's called. But basically, ISPs where we subcontract and we actually do the installation of the internet circuits. Okay, so we're trained on how to do that, and they kind of hug each other pretty close because by default we're low voltage installers. You know what I mean? So like we can work in the telecom space too, right? So that's one way. We subcon with the ISPs and we actually resell and install their services. And we do that with, internet-based services, but we also do that with cellular services. Okay, so we have things like 4G and LTE and 5G cellular services that we resell to go with it. And we partner with our industry partners to get equipment that's compatible with those services to help their devices communicate. Okay, so that's one way to do it, is basically to be a subcontractor and install internet services, right? To be versed in that space.
Right.
And the other way to do it is to partner with individual companies' IT departments, like to actually go on site and be their boots on the ground when their internet is getting installed. We can be right there with the, I don't know, what they call it up here, CenturyLink, I think, or now it's Lumen, right? I'm not,
Right.
they've
Where are you based out of?
Seattle, Washington.
Seattle. Okay, I'm out here in Orlando, Florida. So we're literally on the opposite.
Right.
We're both on the opposite spectrum of the state. Yeah. So okay.
So I don't remember who it is down there, but I know, in our space up here, it's CenturyLink, Comcast. I think they call it Lumen now. We also have a bunch of regional ISPs too. Like they kind of fill in the gaps.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Spectrum is a big one here in Orlando.
What is it?
Spectrum.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I should know that. I have a buddy who's he's a database analyst for Spectrum. He lives in North Carolina though. He heads up their data team.
Oh, nice. All right.
Yeah. So awesome. That's pretty cool. Neat.
Yeah, they're a big one here. But so is this something like, as an integrator, is this a lead thing, or as far as data installation projects, is this something that it's in addition to something, or is this something that you lead with as far as your conversations with your clients and so forth?
That's a really great question. So basically, in an ideal scenario, okay, in the perfect world, we lead with it. There's a really old expression in the industry. I personally hate it, but it's been around for a really long time. And it's one neck to choke. Okay. I don't know if you've heard that expression.
I have not heard that expression, but that sounds pretty focused there.
Well, one neck to choke means you have one place to go to get all this taken care of for you. Okay. And so if we can lead with that, and basically the customer, let's say for this to be successful, okay, to get this installed, they're going to have to talk to their IT provider, their internet service provider, their management. Perhaps they're going to need to talk to their fire alarm company, or their alarm company, right?
Right.
So I've just involved 4 different people in this conversation. Well, if we can be the one that is the one stop for all of those, that's that one neck to choke approach. Okay?
Gotcha.
Now, when integrators are in that situation, when they're that one neck to choke, they can lead with this. They can include it all. We can take care of all of that for you. Okay. And we can put together a package, a bundle of some kind that includes all of those things.
Wow, that's very powerful. I mean, that's a great conversation to have. But what are some of the sort of the disadvantages of not only being that one neck to choke, but of
Yep.
leading with the data installation and that sort of conversation?
There's two things. Okay. The one is the more things we include, we become the T-shaped professionals, right? So we're very broad, right? We only have like one or two things we specialize in, right? But it's broad across the top. So that puts a lot of balls in the air for us. And so when we have a lot of specializations like that, delivery can fall down. Delivery can become a challenge.
Mm,
Timelines, project management, people not understanding what's going on. The second part of that is when when you have all those things going on, when you have all those balls in the air, when you have to depend on, like, for example, this is a great example, okay? So let's say we have that conversation with the customer about installing their internet service, and everything we're doing and getting everything up and running totally depends on that internet circuit being active. 100%. Can't turn it on without it, okay?
right.
We have to depend on that internet service provider to keep their end of the bargain, okay? Well, what if they slip? Well, now the whole thing slips. Now we're on
Mm,
the hook. Now we had, I'm just making names up here, but like we had Roger booked out there to go Friday. He was supposed to be there in the morning and turn that bad boy on. Well, now they come back and say, we're 2 weeks out, man. Sorry. Well, now the whole thing slipped and everything, it's a project management. You need to be really strong at
right.
being able to manage projects. But those are your disadvantages right there.
Right. And so, I mean, and I think that's one of the sort of hurdles that integrators are facing, right? Because the whole cybersecurity, it's just building so much momentum, so much interest and focus. Is that something you come across, sort of on the compliance and regulation side with?
It is. It is
Yeah,
absolutely. That's a great question. A lot of our enterprise customers are customers that are not just large FedGov customers and large healthcare customers, but also the contractors that support them and the businesses that support them that are customers of them, or subcontractors and supporters of them. There's a lot of, national regulation that's really pushing what we can do and what we can't do. Things like, product selection, great example, FIPS 201 compliant card readers, right? Well, we need to be able to choose a FIPS 201 compliant card reader for your access control that's on the government schedule. We have to be able to procure it. We have to be able to sell it, right? This whole supply chain is having issues right now with procurement and delivering product to us, right? And so those regulations, those national regulations, the GDPR, right?
right.
HIPAA, FERC, NERC, SIP, all those national regulations that are driving how we're allowed to implement these things. That means we have to be experts on these things too. Another good example, NFPA 72, the defining standard of how things work in the fire industry in terms of the book they go look at, we
Right.
need to be versed on that. We need to understand what that means. What does it mean to be a fire rated enclosure? What type of product can we choose? Questions like that. So you're absolutely right. Those federal, the government standards and the national standards are definitely pushing what we as integrators can do and can't do.
Yeah, I mean, and I was just speaking to another sort of security consultant in the same similar subject, and we were talking about how some integrators won't be able to make that jump, because they would just continue on the physical security side of the world and hope that this, all these
Mhm.
compliances and all these new challenges go away. Do you think that do you agree with that statement that some integrators just won't be able to transition to sort of get on the digital train?
That's a great question. I'm going to walk over there for just a moment, and I'll be right back because I want to bring something and hold it in front of the camera. Okay, hold on.
Okay, all right. We're gonna have something on display here. So yeah, if you're watching this right here, we're having this great conversation with Rich Campbell, who is a professional security integrator with RFI, and he's holding up something that he's going to share some powerful information here. Security Industry Cybersecurity Certification, CICC. Tell us a little bit about this, Rich.
Okay, so I'm gonna, I take the opportunity, obviously, to shamelessly self promote because this is something that I helped develop.
Hey, if it
It's
brings
also something
value,
I
it's
teach.
not shameless, right?
Well, yeah, you're right. Okay, thank you. It's not shameless. But yeah, this is definitely really, really important because what's happening right now
Right.
is we're right smack in the middle of that convergence between information security and physical security. Okay.
Mm,
And so what not just our customers, but the industry as a whole, some of our manufacturers are demanding is that we as integrators and we as professionals who do this for a living, we need to be cybersecurity aware. Okay. And so this certification, one like this, demonstrates your commitment, your willingness to be part of that, paradigm shift in the industry, right? And there's an industry body, the Security Industry Association, which is composed primarily of access control and video manufacturers, right? And they helped develop or built this cyber security certification, right? The SICC. And well, you're either going to jump on board or you're not, right? You're either
right.
going to be in it or you're not. You're going to find a way to adapt. We come from like uh, the age. I mean, like I'm a Gen Xer, right? And so like we had to do a whole crap load of stuff we'd never seen before, right? And we had to figure out how to do it the first time,
Right.
And
It's so
this is
unique,
this
right? Because we saw the internet come online and pre and before and AOL, we saw it all, right?
right. We were around in a time when computers were becoming a thing, like they were starting to exist, right? Well, right now there are 40 billion devices on the internet. There's approximately, I think it was something like between 8 and 11 devices on the internet for each breathing body on the planet, right? And so we really don't have a choice anymore. We have to figure out a way to adapt and to become cybersecurity aware and express that commitment to our customers, right? And so a good example of this is our new onboarding program when we bring a new technician or a new installer, into the industry. So we have them go through cybersecurity awareness training. We have them go through IT training, like they go through understanding networks and IP addressing and antivirus and malware and all these, sorts of things that you deal with in the IT space. But
Right.
you really have to learn how to adapt.
Yeah, I mean, and those trainings are becoming pretty standard. I mean, like I work at a corporation where the first 2 weeks you're getting these trainings and you're sort of just kind of going through the motion with them. But obviously, from your standpoint, integrated, you probably take it to a whole other level. But is that something that as far as we talked a little bit about the supply chain issues, but there's also a labor staffing shortage challenges going on. Is that something that makes it more challenging for you to
It
source
does.
people?
It does. You know what it does is it precipitates the need to get a little bit more creative about where you're getting people because historically, I mean, we talked about this already. We've been around a little while, right? We've been working
Right.
for a little while. This is my, quarter century mark being in a career, right? And the way it used to work was, you had a specific vocational profile with a specific set of skills, right? And you would hire those people would get paid a certain amount of money, right? And then the more skills they acquired, the more salary they demanded, right? The more um, versatile they became, right? And they would jump from company to company to company depending on who was willing to, throw out a fatter paycheck, right? Or
Right.
maybe not. Maybe they, stayed at a company that really valued promotion from within, and so they stayed there forever, right? Um, but what's happening now is, because the way the labor market is right now, you're looking more at the person as a person. You're looking at what they call a talent profile as opposed to looking at a specialization skill set. So like when I hire, we have to get a little more creative. We're not necessarily like going to go to the local union shop and just say, I need an O6, right? I need somebody who's NICET certified. We do need those things, right? But we're not just going to continue to do that. We're going to go look at like maybe there's like a trade school nearby, right? There's a newbie. He's never done this before, but he's a bright guy. He's got a great attitude. He's a quick study. He's a quick learner. He's resilient. He's resourceful. He knows how to look up information, right? That's sort of the next generation. And that's that T-shaped profile personality that I talked about, the T-shaped professional.
Wow. I mean, you got my gears going here because there's so much we could talk about. Even just that little nugget you just dropped there. Wow. I'm glad. I'm actually glad I'm recording this and not taking because I'm a note taker and I feel like taking notes. But just to not get too off topic here with data projects here, one statistic that I looked up and I was really impressed. By the way, I saw a lot of those IoT statistics they're mind blowing. I mean, the amount of devices and how the speed of it's going, in which is going. Like 2030 might be a whole other reality that we're going into. There's a lot of growth going on, a lot of changes going on. So, what would you say for security integrators? What are the three best skill sets or areas they should focus in to sort of get on this wave up in
Well, that's a
terms
really
in
good
terms of the
question.
trends going on and the expected, to sort of maximize, because it is a business, so to
Mhm.
maximize their share in this huge growth that's about to take off in the physical security space.
Well, one of them that's really pressing to the front, and I know, people have been talking about this for a while, is drones. Drones are definitely really pushing to the top of the list because businesses are becoming increasingly more concerned about protecting not just their physical presence on the ground and inside the building and around it, but they want to protect their airspace too, right? They want to protect the perimeter around their space. They want to protect people from spying on them and flying over top and looking down into their, maybe they spend a month, with a drone just hovering over top of their warehouse, kind of mapping out how they do things. Well, integrators who can operate in the drone space are becoming increasingly important. Integrators who know how to, properly deploy, support, and manage those drones. The other one that's becoming increasingly important, I know we've heard this term for a while, we've been talking about it forever, but it's becoming super important, and it's AI, artificial intelligence. And, just real quick recap on AI. It's really just a more streamlined, intelligent way to present and assess your data, right? It runs on an algorithm. It knows what to look for and how, and it knows how to collect that data together for you in a really streamlined way. So integrators that understand how to present to customers these AI platforms as a service are becoming increasingly important, right? And then the third one is really, it's a little bit out there, but it has more to do with these large enterprise customers that are distributed, they're global, and they have presence everywhere, right? How are we able to bring big enterprises like that together on standardized platforms? And there's companies out there that can do that, but they really want to streamline and make those processes as simple as possible. So those large enterprise organizations where the integrators can inject themselves right into the middle of those discussions, and that's been going on for a while now. I think there's probably been about 8, maybe 10 years in that space. But there's integrators that are really pushing to the front there. And one of those technologies that goes alongside of that is thermal radar. Thermal radar technology has the ability to detect people moving in and out of a space, right? And use radar to protect it and trigger alarms when people are not in that space and they need to see what's going on.
And would you say for security integrators, what would be step one? Just the first step to like, they haven't even thought about this. What
Mhm.
would be their step one to do?
Well, the very first step is, I think, just to ask your customer if anybody is handling their internet service for them or who's handling their internet service. You have to start that conversation. You
Right.
have to be willing to start the convo, and you don't necessarily need to have permission to ask, but it has to start somewhere, right? And then once
Right.
you finish that initial conversation, once you have an idea and you've gained
Yeah.
the kind of put your feelers out, see how the market's doing for you, then you can make a decision there. Is it really something that's worth investing my time in, right?
Right, because I mean, integrators have a challenge with just getting time with their clients, getting face time, having meaningful conversations. Usually, I mean, I remember most of the conversations I've had with integrators is because something's broken or something just happened or
Right.
something's not working. So you're usually not having these sort of higher level conversations. So this is a great way. Would you say this is a good way to just start a conversation that could lead to additional projects and so forth?
It would. I mean, you just led right into the next part of my thought, which was most of us integrators. present company included, right? We're offering a service that monitors remotely your security products. And so, we need internet to do that. We need to be able to have the internet talking to your site. It needs to talk to our secure operations center, right? So we get those reports back, when this camera drops offline or this server service stops, right? And so ask the question, who's monitoring these things for you? Who's making sure that they work? And they kind of hug each other, well, I need the internet to do it, but my system doesn't touch the internet. Well, do you want it to touch the internet? We could be more proactive instead of reactive, that kind of thing.
Wow. It's here, right?
It's here, man. It's here.
All right. Well, I definitely learned a lot here. Could you just give us a kind of recap as far as, how can people get in touch with you? Where would you point them to for more information on these topics?
Absolutely. I mean, like I said in the beginning, or maybe I didn't, I forgot. Sorry, I say a lot. I'm an educator.
I'm telling you, I'm going to have to rewatch it just to get more notes from this.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah, because a lot of it, I write a lot, so I'm a content writer. I've written a lot of awareness, sort of educational based articles in the security space, coming from the physical security world. And my challenge is always that you're reading dull, sort of very analytical, technical copy, and you're trying to make it so that it's engaging and actionable for people. That you're trying to synthesize a lot of information. So when I hear a fellow security professional that can make this topic not only interesting, but also like, oh, okay, you're giving me ideas, you're pointing me in the direction that I can take action and not just more information, I gotta salute you for that. So.
Well, I appreciate that. I always have tried personally to have it be, I need the ability to take super technical information and put it into non-technical terms, because I don't know how much you do know or you don't know, but my goal is at the end of the day, I want you to be a little better off than when we started, right? So there's a lot of ways. The short answer is you want to reach out, if it's okay if I can give you my email, I'm happy to email you guys anytime, or you can email me and, we can have a conversation back and forth. It's just rcampbell@rfi.com. You have my email if you want to post it somewhere. You've also got my LinkedIn. You guys can reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Right. And I see you're active on LinkedIn with articles and just even your comments. Sometimes you just sort of throwing nuggets out there in your comments to stuff. So if you follow
really great conversations going on there too. Lots of things. Now, the other thing I would encourage is there's a lot of industry associations too. And those industry associations are great places to plug in. Okay. So if I can throw a few of those out there, one of them is the Global Security Exchange, right? GSX. Which is as is. That's their governing body, right? There's also the Electronic Security Exchange. There's PSA, right? That's another one you can reach out to. And then there's the Security Industry Association that I mentioned earlier, and they are very focused on access control, video standards, and also, cybersecurity and project management. So that's one that I'm real heavily involved with. But, more voices mean more conversations, more stuff for us to think about. And all of them have leadership committees too, different committees we can all get involved in to help push some of this stuff forward, to actually be the voice of change.
Go to just do the digital part of it as well.
That's right. Yep. Oh, and our website too, rfi.com. So there's a ton of information there. That's our digital presence, our digital business card. And a lot of the stuff I just talked about is mentioned on that website, because we integrators, we live and breathe it every day.
That's awesome, Rich. Well, I really appreciate your time and definitely learned a lot. And I'll go back, like I said, and rewatch this. And I hope we can continue our conversation.
Anytime, champ. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for asking me to be part of this conversation.
Absolutely. And I'm going to get feedback from other integrators regarding the same topic, data installation. So I'll be sure to share notes like we're doing, collaborate and share notes. And what we really want to do is this will actually be live, and we want to get this information to integrators because we want them to see that not only is it possible, but the resources out there. And if they join the conversation, they'll get a lot more from it as well. So